This is the Oz report for September 28th, 2024. And we're going to start with Plex and Plex adjacent items. And for that, I'm going to jump into the game client and we're going to go look at Plex. And Plex is absolutely out of control. Going to the sky, 5.67 sell price. And you might be wondering, why the hell is that, Oz? And the reason is in the New Eden store. We talked about that on stream earlier. We have our beloved and hated, to be frank, 50% off Hypercores. So Hypercores right now, the 100 pack is 5 plex instead of 10 plex. And that means that whether you use a Hypercore or not, this is a fantastic investment opportunity. If we look at Hypercores, we're at prices of 300,000. So that would reflect essentially a 6 million Plex price. So right now, it's still a little bit cheaper to buy Plex and then buy Hypercores than to buy Hypercores on the market. Both are a very, very good investment opportunity right now because, yes, prices will increase. They will be slower to recover probably this time just because a lot of large investors, including myself, we weren't able to liquidate in time before they had another sale, which is completely on us because it's not like we didn't have enough time. If you look at the graph here, the last one was in March. So essentially, we can get ready for this sale happening every 6 months from now on. Because typically, CCP just repeats things that work. And this worked for them. A lot of people spent Plex on this sale, and so they're going to keep on going. Expect Hypercores to maybe this time not reach 450 again. Maybe 400 will be the max, depending on what on how many people actually take advantage of this, especially the ones that are using Plex to buy Hypercores, because if you use Plex, then you're basically creating Hypercores from thin air, and that might have nothing to do at all with the actual demand that there is in the game. So as long as you keep that in mind, I think if you buy at 300K, it's pretty much guaranteed that that the price is going to increase. The question is just how long is it going to take, and how long are you willing to wait for that payday, right? If we look at large skill injectors and skill extractors, there really isn't that much going on. So large skill injectors are pretty much flat. Extractors pretty much flat. Nothing going on there. With the super high Plex price in combination with that, that just means that the skill farming formula is even more negative than it was last week. So we're at minus $500 million per account. If you're subbing at the 12-month for Plex subscription, and that is very, very negative. That is a vastly different picture than a year ago, and so very interesting to see where that's going. Yes, there are still some large-scale farmers that are making a profit because their cost base is going to be lower, but still, this is quite a significant KPI that we have here. Now, returning back to the Oz report, one thing we immediately see if we look at this dashboard is raw moon materials. Look at this. There are, just 8 raw moon materials from R4 to R8 and higher, dropping at least 12%, and some of them 25%. On average, moon materials dropped 10% in price this week. And that is massive if you consider the fact that the daily trade volume is 360 billion. It's the second highest raw material category after basic minerals. And it's the basis of pretty much all tier 2 manufacturing and more in EVE Online. So having a 10% hit on those prices is, really good or really bad depending on where you're at. Certainly, this is going to lead to cheaper ships. Certainly. This is also going to devalue inventory if you have it, and it's also going to make mining moon materials less worth it especially if you're doing it manually and not through the Metanox moon drills. And certainly the changes that we saw in the patch this week that just made the whole operation safer is one aspect of people either people either panic selling their moon materials because that is what they're expecting, or increased materials entering the system through Metanox moon drills. To me, I said this early on stream, a 10% reaction is too big for it to be an organic thing. It's definitely panic selling. And so one aspect here is maybe have a look at some of these that were sold just too much. All right. And so yes, as Ethar Tepa4 pointed out, certainly so skyhooks are the ones that got directly implemented or impacted this week of in terms of getting safer. Metanox overall operations are cheaper though, and if Nullsec doesn't have to focus on defending skyhooks all the time, then they might have more attention to defend their Metanox moon drills actually. So either way, a 10% drop is too much. It's an overreaction. So possibly also an investment opportunity there. Just check it out. Yeah, let's go back to the Oz Report dashboard. Interestingly enough, we have something like, you know, a salvage material like tangled power conduit up 50%. That is for an isolated incident. That is not, you know, tangled power conduits are for tier 1 rigs, right? That's more an isolated incident. What's more interesting is if we're looking at Ukomi superconductors, sterile conduits. These are planetary commodities, especially the sterile conduits P4s that are used in structures and structure modules, and so those that certainly indicates people replacing structures, building new structures, as we have seen in the last months as well. We're still seeing a lot of movement in X-type dead space modules, but that has slowed down quite considerably. If we look at what's in short supply, I mean, Plex is concerning. You know, Plex. People always call me out for saying this, but honestly, if you have Plex sitting around, it is not a bad time to sell. Yes, we have seen Plex price increasing, and you might say to yourself, well, you know, why should I sell now? On the other hand, it's not a God-given right that Plex will continue to increase. Yes, if things continue to go as they are now, if people are buying less Plex with cash, at least not having it hit the market, or if there continues to be high demand for Plex because of good sales that CCP puts on in the New Eden store, then there's a good chance that it will continue in that direction. Still, though, certainly not a terrible idea to liquidate some of it because the current Plex prices are reaching definitely unhealthy limits, and it's reasonable to think that at some point CCP is going to do something, even though their hands are also tied within the bounds of what they can do in terms of Plex prices. Especially if they keep making sub prices more expensive. I can't not talk about Maxilon. All right, Maxilon is not dropping. Maxilon increased in price quite radically. So let's go here. Let's look at Maxilon. We talked about it in the last few weeks. Maxilon has vastly increased in price, and it seems to be sticking. So we're at whereas 50 was the average price that we were seeing up until July. Now it seems to be settling in at 70, which is quite significant. And supply is running dry. And so Maxilon, definitely something, if you're a large-scale trader, definitely something to keep an eye on. I am liquidating, so full transparency right now. I have a big stockpile of Maxilon. I am liquidating because I don't think this price is going to hold. But you know, that's because I do believe for most of these raw materials in the cyclical nature, because at some point, not necessarily the game economy is going to fix itself, but at some point, CCP steps in and does changes to restore the balance or change the balance. For Maxilon, you know, I hope it doesn't go the way of Isogen, where it just keeps on going up, and CCP doesn't do enough to relieve the bottleneck. Up until this week, we'll get to that in a second. But with Maxilon, I do think that it is a good opportunity to liquidate it right now. Isogen, on the other hand, we did see a big drop in prices there. It was already dropping that week. That's why it's not showing up on our dashboard. But we are seeing prices that are at least now approaching pre-Equinox levels. Pre-Equinox, everyone expected Isogen to be dropping because everyone was expecting Nullsec to be able to influence more the asteroids that they mine, and therefore inject more Isogen into this Isogen-hungry economy. That didn't happen because the mining anomalies weren't as good as people expected, and that's why the price went back up. And now CCP, with the last patch, or the patch the week before last, CCP did introduce some measures to relieve Isogen demand. That has brought it down significantly, but not below what people were expecting before Equinox. So very interesting to see. I don't think that with the current parameters, Isogen is going to drop more. I think it's going to take a lot more than that. But yeah, right now Isogen at 364 buy is somewhere around here. That is, you know, that's not a massive change yet, and to me, it's still a little bit too expensive. So I am not buying Isogen. All right.